Okay, so we've got Karceno, and we're going to talk about the Donaire Rigondeaux fight. I'll let you go first, Karceno.
For Fightersrated.com, I'm from BoxingSocialist.com. I'm glad to be here. And
Same.
like to say about the fight, I think that it'll be an intriguing matchup for how long it lasts. I think that Rigondeaux, who's fought over 300 plus amateur fights, probably one of the greatest amateur fighters ever to live, but he's in a whole different world now. You're fighting a guy who has a lot of pro level experience, meaning that they're not wearing headgear. A lot of things the headgear does, it restricts you from seeing certain punches because of the way it's guarded on your face. And when you don't have the headgear, you become lazy. Your eyes become trained not to look for certain things because you're not used to seeing it come. By the time he sees the left hook that's going to hit him from Donaire, it will be too late to make an adjustment. He had this problem against Markowin in his last fight. Markowin was catching Rigondeaux with the left hand, the left hook, constantly, and he hurt it because he's not used to being hit without headgear. And if Donaire hits him like this, it won't be a wobble. He's going down. And he's not going to be able to get up. Because Donaire has excellent timing and he gets excellent leverage on his left hook.
Yep.
And he has speed on his side. Rigondeaux has, everybody's fault has been either flat-footed, slow, tailor-made for him to stand in front of him. Except for when he fought, who did he fight? Cordoba? The only world-ranked fighter, former world champion, that really basically almost beat him, dropped Rigondeaux a few times. It's going to be a whole different experience for him.
Yeah.
Rigondeaux likes to sit back. He needs space. He needs the distance so that he can create the range himself and dictate the pace of the fight. It is not going to happen with Nonito Donaire because Nonito Donaire wants him to believe he's in control until he takes advantage and he closes the distance on you. And as soon as you make a reaction, the left hook is coming.
Yeah.
And it's going to be the left that drops him. I'm saying in 5 rounds, maybe even sooner than that, Rigondeaux is going to get some experience at the pro level that he never expected from Nonito Donaire.
Yeah, I have a bit of a different opinion. Basically, I think I'm going for Donaire in this. I think this is his fight. But I think he's got Rigondeaux at the right time. Because Rigondeaux, and I said this before on Twitter, if Donaire didn't get to Rigondeaux now, then there might be a chance that he might go too far into his pro career, and then he can't catch him. And I think Donaire has got him at the right time while he's still learning the game. And when you look at Rigondeaux, you can see he's like that figure on Fight Night that you play, and you built him up, you boosted him up, and he's a great to play with. But the thing is, can you play with him properly? Do you know what I mean? Like, and that's Rigondeaux. You know, he's got everything,
right? But
he hasn't got the experience that Donaire has. I can see with Rigondeaux that he likes to steal the rounds, so he's still got that amateur game in the pro game. But Donaire is a more polished professional, like I just said. Not to mention the fact that he's got 3 times the amount of fights. Also, Donaire's very he's got quick reflexes just like Rigondeaux. You know, so they're very similar. Like that, they rely a lot on their reflexes. They're very zippy. So I think this is going to be a very, very interesting fight because it's going to be very, like, you know, zippy, and they're going to be. It's not going to be action like a Gaddy Ward. It's going to be more like, I've got the tools to do whatever I want, but what can I do with you? How am I going to do this? Am I going to hit you here? Am I going to go body? Am I going to go head? There's going to be they're going to feel each other out, but not in a way. Yeah, it's going to be a real sort of, one of those fights. It's not going to be action. It's not going to be like a Rios Alvarado, nowhere near it. They're not going to be in the trenches beating the hell out of each other like those two. They're going to, it's going to be a radar type fight, and it's going to be good. I think it'll go the distance. I haven't seen Rigondeaux besides the Marroquin fight, the last one that he was in. He was a little bit in trouble at the end. But besides that, he has been pretty good for his 11 fights. I have to say he's been really impressive for 11 fights. He would have been a lot more impressive actually than Donaire after 11 fights. But the problem is that he doesn't have 32 fights like Donaire. So that's the big difference here, is the fight experience. And I think that's what's going to get Donaire over the line. The only thing that I do worry about is Rigondeaux's amateur game. Because he does like to steal rounds, can he steal enough rounds off Donaire to get the decision at the end? I guess we'll find out, but I don't like Donaire giving up his title to that. I think he's going to hold on to it and do what he has to do to win that fight. So, I'm going Donaire.
I like your analogy. You give Rigondeaux a lot more credit for his boxing ability than I do, and that's good. Me, I just think it's going to be an annihilation once he get hit. The only way he goes past 5 is if he decides that he's going to keep his hands back and throw 3 punches around and try to stay away. There's no way he hurts Nito Donaire. There is no way he can do anything of the sort.
Yeah, I don't think he'll really hurt Donaire, but I think he'll try and steal rounds. This is his kind of game. This is what he likes to do. He likes to steal the rounds. He's still got that amateur style, of gaining points. That's the only danger that Donaire has here, because Donaire, he can take rounds, but he lost a few against Vasquez, and he has lost round. He's not like the Klitschko's where they take every single round. He can give away rounds, and Rigondeaux likes to pile up points. And I don't really see how. As explosive as Donaire is, Rigondeaux's just as explosive too. So I don't see how Donaire is going to really sort of hurt him too much. But I could be wrong. But I pretty much see.
It could go either way.
Yeah.
Only way I don't see it going is Rigondeaux's way. and that's just the way it is. I don't think Rigondeaux has enough.
Yeah.
Because Donaire does not lose rounds. It's very rare that Donaire will lose a round that I've seen. I've seen the Vasquez fight when he had trouble. When he first got up to the weight, it didn't seem like he was, comfortable at the weight. Like he had to drain himself. He didn't look fluent like he normally did when he first moved up to 122.
Yeah.
But since then, he's looked comfortable at the weight, and it's not even close. It's not even close. And he's looking to fight probably another 3 times this year. Probably would have done 4 if his child wasn't being born.
Yeah.
And Donaire's not to be messed with right now. He's on a collision course to go all the way up to the top. I just don't know how far up in weight he can keep climbing.
I don't think this fight's going to take too much out of his progress. I think this fight's just going to be one that he has to get out of the way. I don't think it's going to be one of those fights that really affects the rest of his year or his career or anything like that. Like the Tim Bradley fight versus Povetkin. Both of those guys are going to come out of that a bit sore and sorry for the rest of their careers, to be honest. That was a war. You can't go through too many of those in your career and keep going, And I don't think this fight's going to be like that. I think this is going to be one of those get in, get out type fights, and we'll just you win, I win, whatever. It's not going to be career-ending type fight. But who do you think Donaire's going to be facing after this, or who do you think Donaire should face, or who do you think's a threat for Donaire after this? But
The only threat that's there for Donaire would be Gary Russell Jr. That is the only guy I feel that can give him competition with hand speed and power.
Yeah.
But is that fight a reality? No.
Yeah.
I don't see it realistically happening. He's going to fight Big Darchinyan next. And Darchinyan just signed with Espinoza. He's got a new manager now. He's left his manager after all these years. And now he's signed with Espinoza. Yeah, so look for that fight to happen.
Yeah.
The rematch of Donaire, that could be next. And I think that's about a 90% chance. Who he should be fighting next is the winner between Mares and what's his name? He should go to 126 and fight the winner of Mares and
DeLeon.
Ponce de Leon.
Yeah.
That should be his next opponent.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But we won't see that.
Yeah. But was that is that the whole Golden Boy Arum thing, or?
Oh yeah. Well, that's going to keep it out. It can go to a purse bid, but neither side is going to take the fight. They'll just move up to another weight class or abandon the belt.
Yeah.
So it's hard to make a fight on a purse bid for a belt.
Yeah.
When a person can abandon the belt, they don't care about the belt. Go to another weight class.
Yeah.
It doesn't make a difference to them.
So, I guess there's not really much left for him if he gets past Rigondeaux, really. I mean, obviously.
No, he's running out of options.
Yeah.
He's going to have to move up to like 126 and see what's there. And Chris John fight is there for him at 126. Yeah. And that's the fight he's going to take. That fight's already really been worked out.
Yeah.
So the Chris John fight is there when he goes up to 126. So after Rigondeaux, he might fight Vic Darchinyan at 122, or he might tell Vic, let's go to 126 and fight, because I'm going up there to fight Chris John.
Yeah.
So
do you think Chris John would actually step out of his comfort zone to take that fight? But because I know he does like to fight in Indonesia, so I mean it's not like he's gonna.
Right, and then if Vic Darchinyan can't get that fight, he can fight the winner of Mares and Ponce de Leon, which a lot of people, they really don't understand how Mares is even moving up, because Ponce de Leon is just way too big.
Yeah.
For having Mares.
But do you think Mares is going to beat de Leon? Do you think Mares will beat de Leon?
I do. I think he can. But he cannot be careless. I mean, the guy hits like a tank.
Yeah.
I talked to Efren Esquivel Jr. He sparred both guys.
Yeah.
And he said Ponce de Leon is the hardest hitter he has ever been in the ring with.
Yeah.
And he controlled Daniel Mares.
Yeah.
He was Mares' sparring partner for when he fought Beckham.
Yeah.
And he said, oh my God, that is the strongest guy I have ever been in the ring with, was Ponce de Leon. He said, I can control Abner Mares.
Yeah.
He said, Abner Mares should not move up in weight because I can control him.
Mm-hmm.
His punches don't really move me. He said, I felt him through the gloves, through the training gloves. He's like, we're wearing 14-ounce gloves. And I can feel his jabs, everything hurts from Ponce de Leon.
Yeah. I mean, it's
like a thing.
It's a power change from Moreno. Moreno only had 12 KOs from his 33 wins. I mean, so you're going from a guy who you just fought last, who's got no power, to a guy who's got plenty. So whether that makes a difference or not, but I still think Mares is going to win that fight, because I just think he's on a different level. De Leon, even though he's only had 4 losses, the Lopez knockout in the round one was not very good. And he has he doesn't, I don't know how to put this. He's sort of always looking for the big punches. He can sort of, like Mares is a guy who punches in bunches, you know, and he likes to control the action. He likes to get in your face, and he likes to, I don't know, it should be a good fight.
I don't think he's going to do that with Ponce de Leon. The way he fought Moreno, I don't think he's going to use that same approach. Yeah, he's an accumulation puncher. You know, he just throws a whole bunch of punches.
Yeah.
And he can't fight like that against Ponce de Leon, because now that's the fight Ponce wants to break out. Abner Mares is going to have to box. It's sort of like what he did with Vic Darchinyan. He had to box his way into that fight.
Yeah.
And then if he can get to Ponce's body, then maybe, you know, some scar tissue will open up when he goes to the top, but everything will have to be done in close.
Yeah.
You cannot keep Ponce de Leon. You got to smother his shots. Don't let him get off. Use your distance early to set up shots. Only take them when you got the opening.
Yeah.
That's how Gamboa had to fight him. All these guys, they did their homework because they know you cannot rush Ponce de Leon.
Yeah. I mean, Adrian Broner was at a different stage in his career then too, when he fought De Leon. I know a lot of people debate the decision and all that sort of stuff, but I mean, you got to look at Broner too.
It was close.
Yeah, but you got to look at Broner too. Like realistically, like at his stage in his career, how young he was, stepping up to the plate that early. I mean, realistically, he didn't even deserve to be in the ring with De Leon as far as his age and where he stood. You know, like he took on a big challenge there. You know, like considering De Leon was this big power punching guy with an experience and all that sort of stuff. I mean, Broner had a lot of balls to get in there with him to start with, and to get in there and beat him as well on top of that. Do you know what I mean? So you got to give Broner.
Yeah, well, De Leon was at home.
Yeah, so you got to give Broner a little credit for that. But I would.
It was a lot of credit. He fought the guy in his hometown. He was an underdog, basically, in a lot of people's eyes, even though the fight was kind of like judged in the sports books as like an even fight.
Yeah.
His power didn't have anything on Ponce de Leon. Ponce de Leon hurt him in the fight, and you know, and then his style is really awkward, so he couldn't find his range.
Yeah.
Ponce de Leon kept going low, coming high.
Yeah.
He couldn't find the range on him, so it kept him not throwing punches. He stayed at home a lot because he had no target to hit.
Yeah.
And it was hard for him, and then he started making adjustments when he tried to come forward and just started throwing the right hand over the top.
Yeah.
Ponce de Leon's jab.
Yeah.
Which was a little slow, so he could just throw the right hand over the top with right hand lead. And it got him back in the fight, but Ponce de Leon hits very hard. And everybody knows it. That's why in that fight, you're going to see a big, gigantic ring for Abner Mares. He's going to get that 24 by 24 ring. Golden Boy's not stupid. They know what to do.
Yeah.
And you're going to see one of the biggest rings you've ever seen in your life. So that Ponce de Leon can get tired chasing around Abner Mares.
Yeah.
The same thing Ricky Burns did to Cat Sitters.
Yeah.
Same thing.
I mean, you know, like, well, if you look at the losses on De Leon's record, he's got good opponents that have beaten him. So, I mean, but the thing that I was just talking about before is that if you get a pure boxer, like the way Gamboa beat him is the way I think Mares will probably beat him. Just out punch him and score, you know, tick up the rounds, and you know, if he gets that late KO, he gets it. If he doesn't, oh well, he'll get it on the cards anyway. And so, but I think that's pretty much how it'll go. I don't know if I've ever seen Mares in trouble either. I'm not sure if he's been in the ring with Darchinyan, so he's a pretty big puncher. But Mares seems to be able to handle his own. You know, he doesn't seem to be someone who gets in a spot of bother or anything like that. He's pretty good, you know. But
yeah, he's solid, and he knows how to win fights. This guy hasn't lost, and he's Golden Boy's only fighter that they've ever developed. Yeah. They're trying to develop Leo Santa Cruz, but
he's good.
We'll see how that goes. Yeah, he's good because he's got the right opponents in front of him. But you've never seen him in the ring with somebody with like boxing skills that's going to give him some movement. But they did not want to put Abner Mares in there with Leo Santa Cruz. That's why they made him vacate the title.
The thing with Santa Cruz is, like you're right, but when you talk about Gary Russell Jr., it's pretty similar to the same thing. But because if you look at the last opponent that Gary Russell Jr. had, that Gusev guy, I mean, that was pretty much tailor-made for him, you know, like.
Yeah.
He was never going to bring it.
That's why he said from now on he doesn't want any more tune-ups. He wants big fights. He wants Juan Lopez next. After that, he wants the winner of Abner Mares and Ponce de Leon. He wants that winner next. But he wants these fights now, you know, but he broke his hand in the last fight, so the doctor said 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah, that's
and then after that, he wants all big fights because injuries have kept him out of the ring. He had a leg injury, a knee injury that kept him out of the ring.
Yeah.
He used to be showcased on Adrian Bronner cards.
Yeah.
And the thing was, like, everybody was liking him more than Adrian Bronner on those fight cards when they used to fight on duel on the cards. And they liked the way that Gary Russell Jr. was boxing. But his injury slowed him up, and then Adrian Bronner ended up taking off. Yeah. And then now he's still stuck at the same point where he's got to build himself back up. Yeah. But that's why he said he's ready for these big fights now because, I mean, with his hand speed and power at that lower weight, he should be able to go really high.
Yeah.
Quick. He notices.
Yeah.
He notices that Nonito Donaire is the best fighter technically.
Yeah.
In their weight class. He said he's the best, most technically sound fighter that we have. But everybody else, he said he sees their flaws and he wants to take them apart.
Yeah, I mean, Donaire is polished. He's got cat-like skills. But the thing with Gary Russell Jr., I think the problem that people have with him at the moment is they see the combination punches that he throws and the punches in bunches and the speed and all that sort of stuff and the flashy, you know, movement and all that sort of, but there's no one in front of him to actually, for people to get a bearing on where he stands. That's the big problem. You need to see him in there with someone who's going to test him. You know, like when he gets tested
for the
first time, that's when you're going to see if he's the real deal or not. But for now, you can't really say or anything. You know, you pretty much just got to sit by and wait for him to be in there, because that's the only way you can work out whether someone's good or not, is whether the person in front of them is good. You know, and if they're not, then it's a total waste of time. All it is just a sparring session. You know, like that last fight basically was a sparring session. I mean, the other guy had nothing on Gary Russell Jr. He had nothing that he could beat him with. He had no tools to beat him with. Basically, he was just...
Nah, it was just something for him to get his timing back. He's been out of the ring for a while, so he wants to get back in the feel and the groove of things, and then he breaks his hand. So now he's out 6 to 8 weeks before he could basically even start sparring and using his hand again. So right now he's just at home with his family, but he's sound. The thing about Gary Russell Jr. is people have a feeling about him. As an amateur fighter, they had a feeling about him. He was on the Olympic team for 2008. Yeah. And then he had to try to make weight, and he ended up passing out. Yeah. And they had to send him back home from dehydration, and he never got a chance to fight in the Olympics. So a lot of people didn't get to see him, but he was the favorite to win gold. Yeah. In his weight class at 119. Yeah. So... like Sugar Ray Leonard compared himself to him. You know, like this kid had a lot of potential and it's there. You can tell it's there, and he just needs the fights that's going to bring it out. Yeah, like if he fights Juan Lopez, the fight that Donaire wants so bad, if he fights Juan Lopez, he's going to destroy Juan Lopez. Destroy him. Yeah. And I said, when that happens, Nonito you're going to get Nonito's attention. If he beats Juan Lopez, then he gets the Mares fight. People are gonna ask for Nonito Donaire, Gary Russell Jr.
I mean,
it would happen.
The only problem that I have with that is if he lost to Lopez, where does he go from there?
Oh, if he lost to Lopez, then there's no need of talking about it.
Yeah, you know, like So you sort of better watch
But
out.
I don't think that's going to be the case.
Yeah.
Lopez has too many flaws defensively. He's all offense. He doesn't go to the body like he should. He's a headhunter. And that's going to play right into Russell's hands.
Well, I have to give one thing to Lopez. He's very aggressive too. You know, and he could make Russell Jr. fight. You know what I mean? Like Gary Russell Jr. likes to have people stand still. And you're not going to get that from Lopez. Lopez is going to be charging like a bull straight at him. You know, and he's going to basically say, you either stand up to the test that I give you, or you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, Lopez now is probably a good chance to get him now, because his last fight wasn't so great, and he's still coming back from the knockout in the fight with Salido. But I mean, if he gets back to where he was, I mean,
he's taking a lot of shots.
Yeah, he takes too many shots. He takes too many shots, and that's probably the thing that's basically brought him down. You know,
you might want to stop this video.
Yeah,
because it's probably going too long. Yeah, you should stop recording this video.
Yeah,
just go back to it and hit stop.
Yeah,
so that you can go and do your edits later.
Yeah, I think that's.
Then you can restart another one if you want to keep recording.